A harsh email can reshape your entire morning. A thoughtless comment from a stranger can linger for hours, shifting your mood. We often feel like puppets, moved by the smallest external events. But what if you could cut the strings? The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a simple but profound promise. He said, "People are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." This single idea holds the key to a deep kind of freedom. By the end of this exploration, you will have a complete, step-by-step strategy to understand your emotional triggers and refine your responses, transforming daily friction into a source of inner strength. We will journey from identifying those quiet internal alarms to applying the powerful Stoic filter known as the Dichotomy of Control, and finally to cultivating a steady resilience. This is not about suppressing feeling, but about mastering your power of choice. What is one small trigger that recently shifted the course of your day? In Stoicism, the challenge is never the event itself. The rain falling, the traffic delay, the email containing feedback, these are simply occurrences in the world. The trigger is something that forms completely within you. It is the immediate, automatic assessment your mind creates about that occurrence. This assessment is nearly always a story, a narrative you have learned to tell yourself. It whispers, "This is unjust," or "This is a problem," or "This shows I am not capable." That internal story is the true trigger, the signal that begins the emotional response. He taught, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is prohersis in action. It is not a mystical state, but a very practical skill you can cultivate. The first step is simply to create the pause. Your body often knows the trigger before your mind fully processes it. A quickened heartbeat, a sense of tension, a flush of warmth. These are signals. You can use a simple, physical anchor to claim that space, the conscious act of taking one slow, deep breath. This breath is not to calm you down, though it might. Its primary purpose is to create a buffer, a literal moment of air between the trigger and your next step. It declares, "I am here, and I choose to respond, not just react." Consider your phone buzzing with a message that feels demanding. The immediate impulse is to snatch it up and fire back a reply. This time, when you feel that familiar tug of urgency, let the device rest for the duration of one full breath. In that brief pause, you reclaim your prohersis. You move from being a passenger in your emotional process to becoming the observer, and soon the pilot. This small act is the foundation of everything that follows. Your breath creates the space, and within that space you become the cartographer of your own emotions. This is not about harsh self-criticism, but about the quiet, curious work of mapping your inner landscape. Just as a mapmaker observes a coastline without judging the shape of the bays, your task is to observe your reactions without attaching blame. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius dedicated himself to this practice in his nightly reviews, writing in his journal not to condemn himself, but to understand the patterns of his own mind. He turned his private reflections into a tool for self-governance. Your aim is the same, to see the terrain clearly so you can navigate it with greater intention. This begins with simple, factual recording. The goal is to identify your sensitivities, the specific conditions where your reactions are most likely to appear. Notice the situations, the types of people, even the times of day when your internal signals sound most readily. Are you more reactive when you are tired or hungry or feeling rushed? Does a certain tone of voice or a particular kind of request consistently spark that first internal narrative? The Stoic philosopher Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to practice this very examination. In one of his letters, he wrote, "The entire day should be turned over in one's mind." This review, he suggested, is how we strengthen our resolve and spot the openings in our reasoning before they widen. A practical way to start is with a minimal journaling prompt. Each evening or after a notable reaction, ask yourself just 2 questions. First, what happened, meaning the bare external occurrence. Second, and most importantly, what was my initial thought? That initial thought is the trigger you are mapping. For instance, the occurrence might be, my partner asked if I remembered to pay the bill. The initial thought might be, they think I am irresponsible, or they are reminding me. Writing this down separates the event from the story you told about it. Over time, you are not just collecting incidents, you are collecting the blueprints of your own automatic judgments. When you look at these entries over the course of a week, a powerful question emerges. What pattern do you begin to see? You may notice that your reactions cluster around feelings of being overlooked, or around interruptions to your plans, or around perceived misunderstandings. This pattern is not a flaw, it is invaluable data. It shows you where your inner citadel, as the Stoics called it, has points for greater attention. These are the gates that need your conscious guard. By mapping them without judgment, you transform vague feelings of being upset into specific, understandable points of practice. You move from saying, "Everything frustrates me," to understanding, "I am especially sensitive to stories of unfairness when I feel my effort has gone unseen." This clarity is the first crucial step toward refining your response, because you cannot change what you do not clearly see. Every trigger can be understood with one simple question. What part of this is truly up to me? This is the heart of the Stoic idea of control, a timeless filter that turns confusion into clarity. It is not a complex philosophy to memorize, but a practical tool for immediate use. The philosopher Epictetus laid it out with elegant simplicity in his handbook, the Enchiridion. He wrote, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Our opinions are up to us, our impulses, our desires, our aversions. Our physical selves are not up to us, nor are our possessions, our reputations, or our public roles." In short, what is up to us is our own faculty of choice, our reasoned judgment, and our deliberate actions. Everything else, the entire world of external events and other people's choices, is not up to us. This is your anchor. When a trigger pulls at your emotions, you apply this filter. You break the situation into its components. First, identify everything that is not up to you. This includes the event itself, the actions of others, the outcomes you hope for but cannot guarantee, even the weather or the traffic. These are the givens, the facts of the situation. They exist outside the fortress of your mind. Then, isolate the single component that is up to you, your judgment about the event, your decision to accept or reject the initial story, and your chosen response. This is your inner citadel, the only territory you are truly responsible for governing. Take the common experience of being stuck in traffic. The external components not up to you are immense. The volume of cars, the timing of the lights, the decisions of other drivers, the fact of the delay itself. You can wish it were different, you can feel frustrated, but none of that changes the reality of the road ahead. What is up to you is remarkably small, yet profoundly powerful. It is your assessment of the situation. Is this a personal injustice or simply a circumstance? It is your choice of response. Do you spend the time agitated, listening to an audiobook, or using the pause for a moment of reflection? It is your decision to accept that this delay is now part of your journey. The traffic is the same, but your experience of it is transformed by focusing on your sphere of control. This filter works for deeper concerns as well. Consider care for a loved one's well-being. The external components, the condition, the medical outcomes, the physical response to care, are largely not up to you. What is up to you is your judgment. Will you see this as a crisis you must solve alone, or as a challenge that calls for compassion and presence? What is up to you is your response. You can choose to be fully present when you are with them, to listen, to offer support, to manage the practical tasks within your power. You can choose to channel your care into constructive action rather than exhausting worry. The situation remains difficult, but you are no longer fighting a battle on two fronts. You focus your energy where it can actually make a difference. So bring this filter to a current concern of your own. Pause and ask the question, what part of this is truly up to me? List the external factors, the actions of others, the outcomes you cannot command. Acknowledge them, then deliberately set them to the side. They are the weather. Now look at what remains, your opinion, your next move, your attitude. This is your work. This is where your power lies, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your navigation through it. By consistently applying this filter, you stop pouring your precious energy into changing what you cannot change, and you start investing it where it yields real returns, in the quality of your own character and the intention behind your actions. This idea of control is not about giving up, it is about focusing your effort with great precision. Your first impression is not the truth, it is a hypothesis to be tested. This is the practice of steadfastness, what the Greeks called hypomone, the discipline of holding your ground mentally so you can examine what is actually before you. It is the art of becoming a detective of your own mind, questioning the initial story before you accept it as evidence. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius gave himself a powerful command for this very purpose. He wrote, "Strip away the story that runs with it and see the thing as it is." Your task is to separate the raw event from the elaborate narrative your mind instantly weaves around it. This requires asking a few deliberate questions of that initial impression. First, is this assessment accurate? What are the verifiable facts, and where am I adding interpretation? Second, is this thought helpful? Does believing this story move me toward a better state of mind or a more effective action? And third, which we have already practiced, is this within my control? If the impression is about something outside your control, your work is to release your attachment to the story about it. Consider a common modern moment, receiving a brief text message from a friend. The external occurrence is simple. A short message appears on your screen. The immediate impression, the hypothesis your mind creates, might be, they are upset with me, or I have done something wrong. That story feels real, and it can trigger a wave of concern. Now, apply the investigation. Is it accurate? The only fact is the brevity of the message. The reasons could be endless. They are in a hurry, they are walking, their hands are full, they are simply focused on another task. Your assumption of a negative reason is one possibility among many, not a proven fact. Is it helpful? Believing the story of frustration only creates unease and may lead you to send a reactive message, potentially creating a problem where none existed. Is it within your control? Their mood and their reason for writing briefly are not up to you. Your judgment about their intent and your choice of response are entirely up to you. By interrogating the impression, you drain the emotional charge from it. You see the text as a neutral piece of data until proven otherwise, and you can choose a calm, clarifying response or simply let it be. This practice turns daily friction into moments of mental training. What is one assumption you made today that you could re-examine? Perhaps it was the meaning behind a coworker's quiet demeanor or the intention behind a family member's forgotten task. Pause and strip away the story. See if you can find the quiet fact beneath the noisy narrative. This is not about becoming cynical or distrustful, but about cultivating intellectual honesty with yourself. It is the steady work of ensuring your emotions are responses to reality, not to the stories you fear. That quiet moment of investigation is where you exercise a profound inner power the Stoics called Assent. In their philosophy, assent is simply the yes you give to your initial impression. It is your agreement that the story your mind just told is true. This single, often automatic, act is what fuels the emotional trigger and sets your entire response in motion. You are not disturbed by the event, but by your opinion of it, and that opinion becomes official the moment you assent to it. Epictetus made this the cornerstone of his teaching. He said, "Remember, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and that judgment is yours to reconsider at any time. To refine your triggers, then, is to learn the art of withholding premature assent." You create a buffer zone between the impression and your agreement, a space where reason gets a vote. Think of it like this: your mind constantly presents you with draft statements about the world. That driver cut me off, that means they are rude. My idea was overlooked, that means I am not valued. These drafts are automatic, often based on old patterns. Assent is your signature approving the draft and sending it out as an official document, a fact you then have to live by. The practice is to pause before you sign. You read the draft carefully. Is this accurate? Is this complete? Is this helpful? You might choose to edit it, or you might choose to set it aside without your signature at all. The event happened, but your official story about it remains under your control. Consider the modern arena of social media. You scroll and see a post from an acquaintance celebrating a major achievement, a new job, a beautiful home, a perfect vacation. The initial impression arrives instantly, a complex mix of perhaps admiration, but also a subtle whisper of comparison. That whisper might say, "Their life is so together, mine is not," or "I should be further along by now." This is the draft statement. The trigger fires not when you see the post, but the moment you assent to that whisper, the moment you internally agree, "Yes, that is true, my life is lacking." That assent fuels a tangible feeling, a sinking sensation, a restless dissatisfaction. But what if, in that space, you withheld your signature? You notice the impression, the draft of comparison, and you consciously choose not to approve it. You might instead choose a different, more recent draft. "I am happy for their good news. Their journey is theirs, and mine is mine, with its own timeline and value." By withholding assent from the initial impression, you disarm the trigger. The post remains on the screen, but its power to shift your inner state dissolves. This power of withheld assent applies equally to strong reactions. You read a headline or a comment that sparks immediate feeling. The impression shouts, "This is unjust, this perspective is wrong." That feeling is intense and compelling. The reflexive move is to assent immediately, to let that reaction flood your system and dictate a response, perhaps a sharp reply or sharing the post to amplify the feeling. But if you pause and withhold that initial assent, you create room to ask, "Is my understanding of this situation complete? Is my energy directed productively, or is it simply a flame that will burn me?" You are not saying the situation is fine. You are simply refusing to let the first spark become a wildfire without your conscious permission. So reflect for a moment on your own recent experience. When did you last give your assent to a difficult impression that you later reconsidered? Perhaps it was agreeing with a story that someone's tone was dismissive, only to learn they were simply preoccupied. Maybe it was assenting to the idea that a mistake at work was catastrophic, rather than a simple, correctable error. That feeling of reconsideration is a powerful teacher. It highlights the gap where your choice resided. Each time you catch that impression and consciously delay your agreement, you strengthen your inner citadel. You are not at the mercy of every passing thought. You become the gatekeeper, carefully deciding which impressions are worthy of entering your mind and shaping your day. This disciplined choice is what turns philosophy from an idea into a lived resilience. The final gatekeeper of your inner citadel is not reaction, but preparation. The Stoics had a powerful, often misunderstood exercise for this exact purpose, a practice they called the Premeditation of Challenges. This was not an exercise in pessimism or worry, but a form of strategic emotional preparation. By deliberately considering potential difficulties ahead of time, they aim to soften the impact of reality, to take the surprise and sharpness out of life's inevitable frictions before they ever arrive. Seneca framed this practice with great clarity. He wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a difficulty." The person who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. Think of it as a mental rehearsal, not for failure, but for resilience. You are not inviting trouble, you are simply refusing to be caught off guard by it. When you walk onto a stage, you rehearse your lines to reduce the fear of forgetting them. When you prepare for a journey, you check the weather to know if you might need a coat. This is the same principle applied to your emotional world. You are checking the forecast of your daily interactions and responsibilities, so you are not caught in an emotional downpour without any shelter. The practice is disarmingly simple. You choose a predictable, upcoming situation that holds the potential for a triggered response. It might be a difficult conversation you need to have, a crowded commute, a project review at work, or even a family gathering that often includes a certain kind of comment. Then, in a quiet moment, you walk through it mentally in advance. But here is the crucial Stoic twist. You do not just imagine it going perfectly. You envision the realistic challenges. You see the other person becoming defensive. You picture the traffic being terrible. You consider the possibility that your idea might receive thoughtful feedback. As you imagine these scenarios, you simultaneously rehearse your chosen, grounded response. You practice applying the filter of control, separating what is up to you from what is not. You decide in advance that your calmness, your clarity, and your respectful communication are your priorities, regardless of the other person's reaction. You prepare yourself for the event by familiarizing your mind with its contours ahead of time. For example, take a potentially demanding work meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Instead of dreading it or hoping for the best, you spend a few minutes in premeditation. You think, what if my main point is questioned? What if someone misunderstands my data? What if the discussion goes in an unproductive direction? Then, for each of those, you anchor yourself in your sphere of control. My point being questioned is not up to me, but preparing a clear, concise explanation is. Their misunderstanding is not up to me, but listening carefully and clarifying with patience is. The discussion drifting is not up to me, but gently guiding it back to the agenda with a respectful question is. By doing this, you transform the meeting from a potential challenge into a navigable landscape. You have already visited it in your mind and placed your markers of calm response. When you arrive, nothing that happens is a shocking surprise. It is simply a variation of a scene you have already rehearsed navigating with composure. So, as you look toward tomorrow, what is one predictable trigger you can premeditate? It does not need to be a major event, just a common friction point. Perhaps it is the morning rush getting the family out the door, or a routine interaction with a colleague whose communication style often feels abrupt. Tonight or tomorrow morning, take just 2 minutes to walk through it mentally. See the challenge arise and see yourself meeting it with your chosen response, anchored in what is truly yours to govern. This practice does not prevent the event, but it decisively prevents the event from controlling you. It is the ultimate refinement of the trigger, turning anticipation from a source of anxiety into a source of unshakable preparedness. This is not about feeling nothing, it is about not being enslaved by reactive feelings. The Stoics called this ultimate goal apatheia, a word often misunderstood today. We hear apathy and think of indifference, a cold detachment from the world, but the ancient meaning was entirely different. Apatheia is freedom from pathos, from those destructive and overwhelming passions that hijack our judgment and cloud our vision. It is the state of a calm and clear mind, unshaken by storms of anger, not paralyzed by fear or intoxicated by excessive craving. This is the quiet power that emerges when you consistently refine how you respond. It is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of a profound inner stability from which all your true feelings and actions can flow with intention. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, described the ideal as a smooth flow of life, where one is in harmony with reason. Seneca echoed this, writing that the wise person is not without emotion, but free from being controlled by them. Imagine two people facing the same sharp criticism at work. The first, ruled by those overpowering passions, experiences a surge of heat and a story of personal attack, reacting with a defensive outburst or a sullen withdrawal. Their entire day, perhaps their week, is now colored by that reactive storm. The second person, who has cultivated this inner freedom, feels the initial sting of the words, that natural human reaction. But they have practiced the pause. They apply a filter, recognizing the feedback itself is not up to them, but their assessment and response are. They do not give their agreement to the story that this is a catastrophic personal failure. From a place of inner calm, they can then choose a response. They might ask clarifying questions, separate useful points from harsh delivery, or simply thank the person for the input and decide later what, if anything, to integrate. The criticism was the same. The outcome, however, is worlds apart. One person was swept away by the trigger, the other used it as information, remaining free to act with purpose. So what would this freedom from destructive passion look like in a specific area of your own life? Perhaps it is in a recurring family discussion, where the goal shifts from winning the argument to maintaining connection and respect. Maybe it is in financial concern, where the aim becomes managing what you can control with clear focus, instead of being tossed by waves of anxiety over circumstances you cannot command. Apatheia is that steady keel that keeps your ship upright, allowing you to sail through rough seas with direction, rather than being overturned by every wave. It is the quiet triumph of your practiced judgment over your automatic first impressions. That inner stability is not an isolated fortress. It is part of a much larger landscape. There is a final Stoic exercise that can transform the very scale of your concerns, a mental shift known as the view from above. This is an invitation to zoom out, far beyond the walls of your immediate situation, to see your life and its current triggers from a vast cosmic perspective. It is a conscious act of reframing, where you pull back the lens until the sharp edges of a present concern soften into a tiny part of a much grander picture. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this practice, often reminding himself of his place in the universe to maintain his composure amid the immense pressures of ruling an empire. He would write in his meditations, "Think of the universal substance, of which you have a very small portion, and of universal time, of which a short and indivisible interval has been assigned to you." He contemplated the vastness of the cosmos and the endless march of time, not to feel insignificant, but to gain a liberating sense of proportion. From that altitude, the bustling marketplace of human affairs, with all its interactions and aspirations, looks like what it truly is, a brief and shared moment in an ancient story. To practice this, begin by simply closing your eyes for a moment. Do not imagine anything complex. Just visualize yourself gently rising above your current location, seeing the room shrink, then the building, then the neighborhood. See the city become a pattern of lights, the country a shape on a globe, the earth itself a pale blue dot suspended in the immense quiet of space. From this vantage point, look back at the pinpoint of your life. See the span of your years not as an endless present, but as a single, meaningful thread in a vast tapestry of human experience that stretches back for millennia and forward into an unknown future. Now bring your current trigger into that frame, that difficult message, that tense conversation, that personal challenge. Locate it on that tiny thread. See it for what it is, a single event in a long journey, a brief fluctuation in a life filled with countless other moments of connection, learning, and quiet joy. Let us apply this to a specific friction, like a workplace conversation over a project's direction. In the moment, it feels all-consuming. Your viewpoint is considered. Your contribution is part of a dialogue. The focus in the room is palpable. It is easy for the story to become, "This defines my worth here," or "This discussion will define everything." Now, engage the view from above. See your career as a long, winding path. This meeting is 1 hour among thousands. This project is one of many you will contribute to. The individuals involved are each on their own complex journeys, carrying their own hopes and personal considerations into that room. From the cosmic view, you see a group of temporary companions sharing a fragment of time, working through a shared challenge as humans have done for ages. The stakes, while real, are no longer all-defining. The exchange is not a conflict but a collaboration. This perspective does not make the work unimportant, but it drains the intensity and personalization from it. You can engage with clarity, not because the outcome does not matter, but because you are no longer staking your entire identity on that single conversation. This shift in scale is profoundly practical. It creates emotional and mental space where before there was only constriction. So, here is a question to sit with. How does your biggest current concern change when you view it from a distance of 10 years? Project yourself forward to a future version of you, looking back on this present moment. What would that older, wiser self emphasize about this situation? They would likely see the resilience you built by facing it, the lesson you learned, or the simple fact that you moved through it, as you have moved through every previous challenge. The sharp urgency of the worry softens into a chapter, not the whole book. The view from above is the ultimate refinement of a trigger, because it reminds you that you are both the author of your moment and a brief, beautiful note in a universal symphony. It grants you the humility to take things seriously and the wisdom to not be overwhelmed by them. Your triggers are not your enemies, they are your most demanding teachers. This is the heart of a radical Stoic idea, Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that means love of fate. It is the deliberate choice to not just accept what happens, but to embrace it, to see every single event, especially the difficult and triggering ones, as necessary material for building the person you are meant to become. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who admired the Stoics, captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is not passive resignation. It is an active, creative engagement with reality. It is looking at the very thing that frustrates you and saying, "This too is for my training." Think of a master blacksmith. They do not curse the hard, unyielding metal. They see its resistance as the essential quality that will allow it to be forged into a strong and useful blade. The fire is not an inconvenience, it is the transformative force. Your daily triggers are that hard metal and that hot fire. The traffic jam is not a thief of your time, it is a drill in patience. The thoughtful feedback is not a setback, it is a whetstone to sharpen your clarity and humility. The personal challenge is not a sign of failure, it is the weight you lift to build resilience. Epictetus pointed directly to this when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your trigger, that impediment, is showing you exactly where you need to practice. It is highlighting a specific muscle of your character that is ready to be strengthened. Let us make this practical with a common experience. Imagine you worked diligently on a proposal, you presented it with care, and the response was a request for significant changes or a new direction. The initial feeling is powerful, a story of effort, of wanting to improve, of engaging with the process. The conventional response is to feel challenged, to seek understanding, to perhaps reflect. Amor Fati asks you to shift the frame entirely. Can you see this not as a closed door, but as an open invitation to practice? This event is now your training ground. It is a chance to practice separating your worth from an outcome. It is material for exercising the filter of control, focusing on what you can learn from the perspective rather than clinging to your initial vision. It is an opportunity to practice perseverance, to refine the idea, or to channel your effort into a new direction with even greater insight. The request did not happen to you, it happened for your development. When you can look at that situation and feel a spark of curiosity instead of a wave of disappointment, you are practicing Amor Fati. This reframing turns your entire life into a purposeful gymnasium. The person who irritates you is no longer a nuisance, they are your sparring partner in patience. The delayed project is not a problem, it is your coach in adaptability. The financial pressure is not a crisis, it is your curriculum in resourcefulness and distinguishing needs from wants. Each trigger, once loved as fate, loses its power to derail you and gains a new role as a stepping stone. So here is a question to sit with as we move forward. Can you identify one recent trigger, one specific friction from this week that you can now look upon with a sense of gratitude? Not because the event itself was pleasant, but because it provided you with raw material, the hard metal and the hot fire for your own forging. What virtue did it give you a chance to practice? This shift in perspective is the final, most profound refinement of your emotional triggers. It transforms your relationship with reality from one of resistance to one of partnership, where every single thing that happens becomes fuel for your growth. Many triggers arise because reality conflicts with our wishes. We hope for the world to be a certain way, and when it does not unfold as we imagined, a spark of frustration or disappointment ignites. The Stoics identified this as a root of much of our distress, and they offered a powerful remedy called the discipline of desire. This is not about eliminating all wanting, but about learning to want wisely, to align our deepest hopes with nature and reason. By doing so, we cut off the fuel supply for countless daily triggers before they ever have a chance to flare. Epictetus put it with striking clarity. He said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. And when we are hindered, or disturbed, or grieved, let us never attribute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own principles." Our discomfort comes from the collision between our rigid wishes and the flexible, often unpredictable flow of reality. Consider the discipline of desire as a form of inner navigation. You are the captain of a ship. Your desires are the course you plot on the map. If you plot a course demanding perfectly calm seas and following winds for the entire journey, you are setting yourself up for constant frustration. The nature of the ocean includes storms and calms, headwinds and tailwinds. The skilled captain does not wish only for ideal conditions. They wish to sail skillfully through whatever conditions arise. Their primary want shifts from controlling the sea to mastering their own seamanship. This is aligning desire with nature. You stop wishing the external world to conform to your personal script, and you start wanting to live with excellence and virtue within the world as it actually is. A practical and common example is air travel. You have a flight scheduled for a specific time. Your hope, perfectly reasonable on the surface, is for the plane to depart and arrive as planned. But the nature of modern travel involves complex systems, weather, mechanical checks, and countless variables. When the announcement comes that your flight is delayed, the trigger fires. That feeling of irritation or anxiety is not caused by the delay itself, but by the collision. Your hope for a smooth plan is meeting the reality of a changed plan. The discipline of desire asks you to soften that initial want. Before you even get to the airport, you can align your hope with nature. You can think, "I wish to reach my destination safely and with a calm mind. I accept that travel includes delays and changes as part of its nature. My goal is to handle whatever happens with patience and resourcefulness. When the delay is announced, the trigger is disarmed. The event is the same, but there is no internal collision. You are not fighting reality, you are navigating it. You can use the time to read, to call a loved one, to simply observe the busy life of the terminal. Your distress is optional because you chose a desire that reality could not thwart. This discipline applies to far more than travel. It touches the core of our relationships and ambitions. The trigger of a loved one not acting as we hope stems from a wish for them to be different. The frustration with a slow career advancement often comes from a desire for recognition or progress on our personal timeline. The anxiety around public speaking flows from a wish for everyone's approval and a flawless performance. In each case, the discipline invites you to examine and soften that initial, rigid desire. Can you wish for your loved one's well-being and your own peace more than you wish for them to change a specific habit? Can you desire to do excellent work and act with integrity more than you desire a specific promotion by a certain date? Can you want to communicate your message clearly and courageously more than you want to avoid every moment of nervousness? By shifting your desires inward toward your own character and actions, you make them invincible. No external event can prevent you from wanting to be patient or diligent or courageous. This is the ultimate alignment. So here is a question to sit with, a practical point for your own reflection. What is one specific desire you can soften or release to reduce a common trigger in your life? Look at that familiar point of friction. What is the quiet, often unspoken, hope beneath it? Is it the wish for a perfectly quiet house, for a colleague to always agree with you, for a project to unfold without a single hitch? See if you can consciously relax that grip. Replace it with a desire aligned with your own nature as a rational, adaptable being. Wish to meet the noise with focus. Wish to engage disagreement with curiosity. Wish to navigate obstacles with creativity. When you make this shift, you are not giving up. You are stepping into a far greater power. You are choosing desires that the world cannot take from you, and in doing so, you quiet the source of the trigger at its very origin. Once you have managed your internal trigger, what does a virtuous action look like? The pause and the internal filter are only half the work, the private half. The other half is public, the part that others see and feel. This is where the Stoic strategy moves from philosophy into tangible impact, guided by their four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are not abstract ideals, but practical tools for shaping your very next move. They answer the critical question, now that I have my composure, what do I actually do? Marcus Aurelius offered a beautifully simple directive for this moment. He wrote, "In every action, ask yourself, how is this related to me? Shall I reconsider it? A little while and my time is past and all is gone. What more do I seek if what I am now doing is the work of an intelligent living being and a social being, and one who is under the same law with the gods?" His focus was on doing the next right thing with a sense of shared humanity and kindness, because that is the work of a rational person. The virtues give that right thing its specific shape. Let us walk through them with a common scenario. You are in a team meeting, and a colleague presents an idea that directly challenges a proposal you spent weeks developing. The internal trigger fires, that flash of defensiveness, that story of my work being dismissed. You have done the work, you have paused, you have filtered for control, you have withheld assent from the catastrophic narrative. Your inner state is steady. Now, what is the virtuous action? Wisdom asks you to consider the most effective and insightful response. It tempers your initial impulse to shut the idea down. Wisdom might lead you to ask a clarifying question to fully understand their perspective before you respond. Courage is the virtue of doing what is right despite the feeling of risk. It empowers you to speak up, not with aggression, but with the bravery to engage with the challenge directly. It also gives you the courage to potentially acknowledge a good point in their idea, even if it means adjusting your own. Justice is your duty to others in the social sphere. It demands you treat your colleague with fairness and respect. It means listening to their idea fully, giving it a fair hearing, and responding in a way that serves the truth and the good of the team, not just your own ego. Temperance is the virtue of moderation and self-restraint. It ensures your response is measured and proportional. It prevents you from dominating the conversation or letting your tone become sharp, even from a place of calm. A virtuous action, therefore, is not a single gesture but a blend. It might sound like this. After listening completely, you say, "Thank you for presenting a different angle. I want to make sure I understand your core concern. Is it primarily about the timeline or the implementation cost? From my work, here is what I was trying to address." Perhaps there is a way to integrate your insight about efficiency with the foundational structure we have. This response is wise. It seeks understanding. It is courageous. It engages directly. It is just. It respects the colleague and the shared goal. It is temperate. It is measured and collaborative. The outcome of the meeting may still be uncertain, but your action is now aligned with your character, not with a fleeting reaction. Now bring this to your own experience. Recall a past reaction, perhaps one from last week or last month. It could be a sharp reply to a family member, a disengaged silence during a disagreement, or a decision made from frustration. Look at that moment through the lens of these four virtues. How could courage have shaped a better action? Maybe courage would have meant voicing a gentle boundary instead of holding onto frustration. How could temperance have helped? Perhaps temperance would have meant choosing to discuss the issue later, after emotions had settled, rather than in the heated moment. The goal of this reflection is not self-criticism, but pattern recognition. It shows you the specific virtues that, if strengthened, will refine your future responses. Your actions become the visible expression of your inner work, a steady signal to the world and to yourself of who you are choosing to become. The Stoic path requires the kindness of a teacher, not the harshness of a critic. This inner work of refining your responses is a demanding practice, and it is crucial to remember that Stoicism was never intended as a philosophy of self-punishment. The goal is not to achieve a state of perfect, emotionless reaction, but to make consistent, gentle progress. The real obstacle to progress is not the occasional lapse, but the voice of merciless criticism that follows it, a voice that can make you abandon the entire practice. True strength is built with patience and understanding, the same qualities a wise mentor would offer a dedicated student. The letters of Seneca to his friend Lucilius are filled with this spirit. He did not scold Lucilius for his fears or frustrations. He met him where he was. In one letter, he writes, "Let us say what we feel and feel what we say. Let speech harmonize with life." He is urging honesty and gentle alignment, not perfection. He consoles, he encourages, he reminds his friend of his own capacity for growth. This is the tone to bring to your own practice. When you notice a trigger and feel the old, familiar reaction rise up, your first task is simply to notice it without layering on judgment. That observation itself is a victory. It means you are awake to the process. A setback is not a failure. It is the most potent learning moment you will get. It provides the raw, real-world material your practice needs. Imagine two ways of handling the same moment where you reacted with more intensity than you wished. The first is the voice of the critic. It says, "You lost your temper again. You will never get this right. This proves you are not a calm person." This voice demoralizes and tightens the very patterns you are trying to loosen. The second is the voice of the Stoic mentor. It observes calmly, "I agreed to that impression too quickly. I see that story of unfairness is a sensitive one for me. Next time, I will remember to take my breath before I speak." This approach is factual, focused on the mechanism, and oriented toward the future. It treats the event as information, not as a verdict on your character. So, after a reaction you wish had been different, pause and ask yourself this reflective question. How can you speak to yourself more like a Stoic mentor right now? Can you offer the same compassionate guidance Seneca offered his friend? You might acknowledge the difficulty. You might note the specific trigger that was activated, and you might simply decide on one small, actionable adjustment for a similar moment ahead. This self-compassion is the soil in which disciplined practice grows strongest. It allows you to return to the work again and again, not with a sense of grim duty, but with the steady curiosity of someone learning a deeply meaningful craft. Before your mind labels a feeling, your body often signals it. That tightness in your chest, the subtle clench in your jaw, the sudden restlessness in your hands, these are not just side effects of emotion, they are its first messengers. The Stoics understood this intimate connection deeply, viewing the mind and body not as separate entities but as a unified whole. The teacher Musonius Rufus emphasized this, arguing that training for virtue must include care for the physical self, because a neglected body can become a noisy distraction, making it harder for reason to be heard. Your body in this practice becomes a finely tuned barometer, detecting shifts in your emotional weather long before the storm of reaction appears on the horizon. This is a practical, somatic form of awareness. You are learning to read the physical alphabet of your triggers. Think of the moments before you need to speak in a meeting or present an idea. The mind might start weaving stories of potential judgment or forgetting your points, but often the very first signal is not a thought at all. It is a dryness in your throat, a slight quickening of your breath, a tension gathering in your shoulders. These sensations are the early warning system. They are the body's way of saying, pay attention, a story is about to be written here. Instead of ignoring these signals or pushing through them, you can use them as your most reliable cue to initiate the pause. That tightness in your chest is not the anxiety itself, it is the bell that rings, calling you to your practice. When you feel it, you have been given a gift of time, a somatic heads-up to engage your proherses, your faculty of choice. So let us make this tangible. The next time you feel a familiar emotional trigger beginning to stir, turn your attention inward with curiosity. Before you analyze the situation or the person involved, scan your physical self. Where is the sensation located? Is it a sinking feeling in your stomach, a heat in your face, a stiffness in your neck? Simply notice it without trying to change it. Name it to yourself quietly, tension in my shoulders, shallow breath. This act of noticing creates the very space you need. It pulls you out of the swirling narrative in your head and anchors you in the present reality of your body. From that anchored place, you can then apply the Stoic filter. You can ask, what story is my mind starting to tell that is creating this physical response? Is that story within my control? By starting with the body, you intercept the process earlier, with more clarity and less entanglement in the mental drama. This week, practice being a gentle observer of your own physical landscape. What physical sensation most commonly accompanies your primary emotional trigger? Does frustration manifest as a clenched fist or a set jaw? Does feeling overwhelmed feel like a weight on your chest or a fog behind your eyes? Your body holds this wisdom. By learning its language, you gain a powerful, immediate ally in the work of refining your responses. The goal is not to eliminate the sensation, but to thank it for the information, and then to choose your next move from a place of conscious awareness, rather than from a place of being unconsciously pushed by a physical tide. We do not just react to events, we react to the story we tell ourselves about them. This is the final, creative frontier of the Stoic strategy, the art of narrative alchemy. After you have paused, after you have filtered for control, you are left with the raw material of the event itself. And here, you possess a profound power, the power to consciously rewrite the internal script. The event is fixed, but the story you attach to it is yours to author. Marcus Aurelius offered the essential starting point for this practice. He wrote, "Take away the opinion, and you have taken away the thought, I am affected." Take away the thought, I am affected, and the feeling itself is gone. The thing itself has no power to produce our opinion. The event in its purest form is often simple, almost bare. It is the drama we layer on top that creates the emotional weight. Your initial story about a triggering event is often written in the language of difficulty or exaggerated consequence. It casts you as facing an unfair situation, or it inflates a single event into a pattern of discouragement. My boss is micromanaging me. That story feels heavy, personal, and disempowering. It frames your boss as an obstacle and you as a person without options. But what if you could edit that draft? The Stoic practice is to strip the event back to its most neutral, factual description, and then, from that clean slate, consciously choose a more useful, more accurate narrative. So let us rewrite that line. The factual occurrence is, my boss has asked for frequent updates and provided detailed notes on my last 3 reports. That is the observable data. The initial story, my boss is micromanaging me, is one interpretation, and it is an interpretation that triggers defensiveness and frustration. Now, from that neutral ground, you can author a new story, one aligned with agency and clarity. You might write, my boss is providing detailed feedback. I can choose what to do with it. This reframe does not deny the fact of the feedback. It simply changes your role in the narrative. You are no longer subject to scrutiny. You are an agent receiving information. This new story opens doors. It allows you to ask, is there a skill I need to demonstrate more clearly? Is this their standard communication style? What specific action can I take to align our expectations? The same event through a different story becomes a puzzle to solve rather than a personal challenge. This is not naive positivity, it is strategic storytelling. It is choosing the narrative that best serves your peace of mind and your effective action. Another common story is, this always happens to me when a single setback occurs. The reframe is, this happened this time. The word always is an amplifier of difficulty, a story that links this moment to every past challenge. Removing it confines the event to its proper scale, a single incident, not a permanent condition. So here is your reflective prompt, a practical point for your own experience. What is a more objective, less charged story you can tell about a recent triggering event? Pick one from the last day or two. First, write down the initial story that ran through your mind. Then strip it back. What were the bare facts, the who, what, when, and where, absent all judgment? Finally, from those facts, draft a new narrative. Write one that focuses on what is within your control, that describes the event without casting blame or forecasting difficulty, that leaves room for your own choice and response. This act of rewriting is not about deceiving yourself. It is about aligning your inner dialogue with reality and with your own power. You are the author of your experience, sentence by sentence, and every edit is a step toward a quieter, stronger mind. People are perhaps our most frequent and complex triggers. Their words, their actions, and even their silence can spark immediate reactions within us, often before we even have a chance to think. This is the social arena where the Stoic principles of control and judgment face their most demanding test. The challenge is not the other person, but the story we instantly attach to their behavior. We might interpret a certain tone or see a different opinion as a personal challenge. That internal narrative is the real trigger, and it is here, in our interactions, that we must apply our practice with the greatest care. Epictetus offered a brilliantly simple preparation for this. He suggested that when you are going out, you remind yourself you are going to meet a person who may be difficult or who may see things very differently. These things can happen, he noted, because of a shared human confusion about what truly matters. This is not a cynical prediction, but a realistic preparation. It is like checking the forecast before a walk. If you know rain is possible, you bring a coat. If you know that interactions can include friction, you prepare your inner resilience. You are not labeling anyone, you are simply acknowledging a common reality. This mental preparation softens the surprise and allows you to meet any event with reason, not a raw reaction. Consider the practical moment of receiving a comment that feels dismissive. The external event is simply a string of words. The immediate, internal story might be one of personal slight. That story is the trigger. Your Stoic work begins by applying the filter you have practiced. What is truly up to you? Their choice to speak those words is not up to you. Their mood, their perspective in that moment, these are outside your control. What is up to you is monumental. It is your judgment about what it means. It is your decision to pause before accepting a story that this is a personal attack. It is your chosen response, which becomes a direct reflection of your own character. Your goal shifts from focusing on their behavior to governing your own. You might choose silence not as weakness, but as a conscious refusal to engage on a certain level. You might choose a calm question. You might simply note internally that this is another perspective, and it may say more about their current state than anything else. By focusing on your own character, you reclaim your power. You are no longer a puppet reacting to another's tone. You are an agent who defines what kind of person you will be in that exchange. This practice transforms difficult interactions from adversities into opportunities for training. They provide the necessary resistance to strengthen your patience, your understanding, and your self-command. So, here is a question for your own reflection. Which person in your life serves as your best trainer for patience? It might be a colleague with a particular style, a family member with a habit that tests you, or even a stranger you encounter regularly. Instead of viewing them only as a source of frustration, can you, for a moment, see them as the provider of your daily practice, the weight you lift to build the muscle of your composure? Every interaction is a chance to practice the pause, to apply the filter, and to choose a response aligned with your virtues. This shift does not excuse poor behavior, but it completely changes your relationship to it. You stop fighting the wind and learn instead to adjust your sails. The ticking clock is a potent trigger for anxiety and frustration. We live in a world measured in seconds, where delays feel like personal offenses and waiting is seen as wasted time. This constant pressure creates a unique kind of emotional friction, a story that whispers you are falling behind, or this moment is not good enough because it is not the next one. The Stoics offered a profound antidote to this temporal tension, not by giving us more time, but by teaching us how to inhabit the time we have. Their guidance was to accept the present moment as the only reality we can ever actually engage with, and to release our struggle against the natural, uncontrollable flow of time itself. Seneca, in his powerful letter on the shortness of life, cuts to the heart of our modern dilemma. He observes, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. But when it is wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by life's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. His point is not merely about grand accomplishments, but about the quiet theft of our own presence. Every moment spent in agitated waiting, in resentment toward a delay, is a moment we have chosen to lose. The trigger is not the wait, but our judgment that the wait is an enemy to our plans. Consider the universal modern practice of waiting in line or sitting in traffic. The external event is neutral, a simple configuration of cars or people. The internal story, however, is one of stolen time. This is when I should be somewhere else. This is keeping me from what matters. That story is the source of the simmering frustration, the checking of the watch, the restless sigh. The Stoic strategy invites you to see this scenario not as an interruption, but as a designated practice field. This is your arena for cultivating patience and presence. The delay itself is outside your control, a fact of the shared physical world. What is within your control is your relationship to these minutes. You can choose to replace waiting with being present. Instead of mentally fighting against the red light, you can feel the steering wheel under your hands, notice the pattern of the clouds, or simply observe the flow of your own breath. Instead of seeing the line as a barrier, you can use it as a chance to stand still, to feel the ground beneath your feet, to notice the architecture of the room you are in, or to offer a silent wish for the well-being of the person in front of you. In that shift, you reclaim the time. You are no longer waiting for life to begin again at some future point. You are living it fully in what is. The delay becomes a pocket of unexpected peace, a gift of pause in a rushing world. So here is a question for your own reflection. Where in your life can you deliberately replace waiting with being present? Is it in the quiet minutes before a meeting begins, often spent scrolling in anticipation? Is it in the daily ritual of preparing a meal, which can feel like a chore between events? These are not gaps in your life, they are the fabric of it. Each one is an invitation to step out of the story of impatience and into the reality of the moment you actually have. When you do this, you are not just passing time, you are integrating it, making every part of your journey count. Some experiences touch us very deeply, connected to a sense of change or the concern it brings. These are the shifts that can feel foundational, the transition of a person we hold dear, the completion of a time we valued, the sudden movement that leaves us seeking our footing. The Stoic approach does not avoid this depth. Instead, it offers a viewpoint that can help build a resilient understanding right within it, centered on the gentle practice of recalling our shared nature. The Stoics called this Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. This is often misunderstood as a dark fixation, but its true purpose is the opposite. It is an invitation to awareness, a reminder of our common and temporary nature that makes every single moment and connection precious. By consciously acknowledging the natural cycle of all things, we can soften the sharpness of the experience when change arrives. Marcus Aurelius wrote often of this in his private thoughts, finding perspective in the larger order of nature. He noted, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not inviting despair, but urging a clarity of purpose drawn from the simple fact of life's fragility. Another Stoic thinker, Seneca, wrote entire letters of consolation to friends navigating profound sorrow. In one, he offered this perspective: let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. This is the application of Memento Mori as a daily practice, not for fear, but for focus and profound gratitude. Consider the practical experience of a significant life change, like a shift in work or the closing of a meaningful chapter in a relationship. The initial feeling is immense, a story of personal challenge, of a path altered, of identity in question. The Stoic refrain begins by seeing this event not as a unique personal catastrophe, but as a part of the universal rhythm of nature. Everything in the physical world is in a state of flux, of coming together and coming apart. Forests grow and are reshaped over time, rivers change their courses, seasons turn. Your career path, your relationships are part of this same natural process of change. The end of one role is not a verdict on your worth, but the closing of one chapter in the long story of your adaptable life. The conclusion of a shared path, while deeply painful, can be seen as two people's journeys which converged for a time, now following their own necessary directions in the larger landscape of growth. This viewpoint does not negate the sadness or the difficulty. It simply places it within a context that is far larger than a story of personal fault. It transforms the narrative from "I have failed" to "This meaningful and difficult experience has reached its natural conclusion, and I must now discover what grows from this soil." From this place of acceptance, not resignation, your energy can shift. Instead of being consumed by fighting the reality of the change, you can begin to ask the Stoic questions within your control. What wisdom did this experience leave me with? How can I care for myself with compassion in this transition? What small, purposeful action can I take today to honor what was while building the next step? This is how resilience is forged in the face of deep experiences, not by pretending the difficulty is not there, but by building a sturdy understanding around it. So here is a gentle prompt for your own reflection, drawing from this timeless practice. How can acknowledging impermanence today make you appreciate what you have now? Look at the people, the routines, the simple comforts that surround you. See them not as permanent fixtures but as temporary gifts. That conversation with a friend, the quiet of your morning, the well-being you have in this moment, these are not guaranteed. This awareness, born of Memento Mori, does not bring sadness but a startling, gentle clarity. It urges you to put down the distraction and truly listen, to feel the warmth of the cup in your hands, to speak the kind word you might have saved for later. In this way, the very experience of change becomes, over time, a teacher of depth, guiding you to live not in fear of endings, but in full reverence for the fragile, beautiful now. The calm after mastering a trigger is not an empty space, it is a creative one. All the mental energy you once poured into frustration, into rehearsing arguments, into worrying over interpretations, that energy is now freed and available. It is a quiet power waiting for a new direction. The Stoic strategy does not end with composure, it begins there. Your inner stability becomes the foundation from which you can build something meaningful, turning the energy of reaction into the fuel for creation. Marcus Aurelius framed this daily choice with beautiful simplicity. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And then go to work to do the work of a human being. That work is not just your job, it is the active expression of your character, your reason, and your capacity to contribute. It is the creative action that follows the calm. Think of your mind as a workshop. Before, when a trigger occurred, it was as if a small fire erupted in the corner. All your attention and effort went toward putting out that fire, managing the smoke and feeling the heat. The rest of the workshop, with all its tools and materials, sat unused. Now you have learned to prevent those fires or to contain them quickly. The workshop is clean, quiet, and fully lit. The question becomes, what will you build here? That liberated focus is your most valuable resource. Instead of spending an hour mentally replaying a difficult conversation, you have reclaimed that hour. You can now invest it in learning a new skill that interests you, in writing a thoughtful note to someone who could use support, or in taking the first small step on a project you have been postponing. Take a practical, common example. You log onto a social platform and see a post where a former colleague seems to be making a comment about a project you both worked on. The old pattern, the reactive trigger, would have you ruminating. You might draft responses in your head, feel a knot in your stomach, and scroll away only to find your mind circling back to it 20 minutes later. That is a significant drain of your creative energy. Now, with your practiced pause and filter, you observe the post, you note the initial impression, and you consciously choose not to give your agreement to a story of conflict. You close the app. The mental space that would have been consumed is now open. You could use that same 20 minutes to watch a tutorial on a software tool you have wanted to learn, to organize one drawer in your home, or to call a friend you have been meaning to catch up with. You have transformed a potential drain into a tangible gain. The external comment, whether real or perceived, no longer dictates the quality of your afternoon. Your creative capacity does. This shift from reaction to creation is the ultimate refinement of your energy. It moves you from a defensive posture to an active one. You are no longer just managing incoming difficulties. You are proactively shaping your world from the inside out. So here is a question to sit with, a point for your own reflection. What constructive action could replace your most common reactive pattern? Look at the trigger you mapped earlier in your practice. If you typically spend mental energy on frustration with a commute, Could you use that same time to listen to an inspiring podcast or plan your day with intention? If your pattern involves concern over a family member's path, could you channel that caring energy into a specific, supportive action you can control, like preparing a meal together or writing a letter of appreciation? Your calm mind is not a destination, it is a launch pad. What will you build from this new, steady ground? Stoic resilience is a mosaic, built one tiny, intentional piece at a time. We often imagine inner strength as a monumental achievement, a single moment of transformation where we become unshakable. The reality is far more human and far more attainable. Your ability to refine emotional triggers is not forged in a dramatic crisis, but in the quiet accumulation of countless micro-practices, the small choices you make when no one is watching and nothing seems to be at stake. The Stoics had a special word for a person on this path, a prokopton, meaning one who is making progress. This progress was never measured in leaps, but in the subtle, consistent forward motion of daily discipline. It is the quality of your ordinary moments that ultimately defines the strength of your character. Think of these micro-practices as the daily reps for your mind. They are so small they feel almost insignificant, yet their cumulative effect is transformative. The morning intention is not a lengthy meditation, but a 10-second decision as you open your eyes. You might simply think today, I will watch for my story about fairness. That single sentence sets a gentle guardrail for your attention. The 1-second pause before responding to a message, the conscious feeling of your feet on the floor when frustration begins to rise, these are the stitches that sew composure into the fabric of your day. The nightly review is not a long journal entry, but the honest answer to 2 questions we discussed earlier: what happened and what was my initial thought? This takes 2 minutes, but it provides the map data for your entire journey. The single deep breath is not a breathing exercise. It is the literal creation of space between a trigger and your reaction, a space where your freedom lies. Consider the commitment to practice the pause just once per day, reliably. You do not need to catch every trigger. You simply choose one predictable moment, perhaps when your phone buzzes with a notification, or when a family member asks a question while you are focused. In that moment, you enact your micro-practice. You feel the impulse to react, and you consciously insert one full breath before you do anything else. That is the entire practice, one breath, one time, today. The power is not in the breath itself, but in the conscious choice it represents. You are reminding your nervous system and your mind that you are in charge of the sequence. Each time you do this, you are not just managing a single moment. You are strengthening a neural pathway, making the pause a little more automatic for next time. This is how a mosaic is built, not by placing the grand central tile first, but by faithfully setting one small piece after another until a complete and beautiful picture emerges. So here is a question for your own path of progress. What is one micro-practice you can commit to for the next 7 days? It must be so small that it feels almost effortless. It could be the morning intention, the single breath, or the 2-question review. Choose one and attach it to an existing habit, like your first sip of water in the morning or the moment you sit down at your desk. For 7 days, your only goal is consistency, not perfection. Notice what happens. You are not building a fortress in a day. You are laying one brick with care and then another, knowing that this is how all enduring structures are made. Paradoxically, to handle triggers better, we sometimes need to seek out mild discomfort. Our modern world is engineered for ease, a constant stream of conveniences designed to smooth every possible friction. While this comfort is a gift, it carries a hidden cost. When we systematically avoid all discomfort, we inadvertently weaken our capacity to handle the involuntary challenges that life inevitably brings. The very muscle of resilience begins to atrophy from lack of use. The Stoics understood this intimately, and they prescribed a surprising remedy: the deliberate practice of voluntary hardship. This was not about self-punishment, but about intelligent training. By choosing small, manageable difficulties, we build the inner toughness required to meet the larger, unexpected ones with grace. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus was a strong advocate for this. He taught that just as an athlete must train against resistance to grow strong, so must we practice with discomfort to fortify our character. He saw the care of the body and the training of the mind as inseparable, arguing that experiencing small physical challenges, like cooler temperatures or simple meals, teaches the mind endurance for greater trials. It is a form of preemptive training, a way to prepare yourself for life's inevitable friction. Think of it like this: if you only ever walk on perfectly flat, padded surfaces, the first time you encounter a rocky, uneven trail, you will likely stumble, your ankles weak and unprepared. But if you regularly take walks on varied terrain, your muscles and balance adapt. When you then face that rocky path, your body knows how to adjust. Your emotional and mental responses work the same way. By voluntarily stepping into mild discomfort, you are taking your resilience for a walk on uneven ground. You are teaching your system that discomfort is not an emergency, but a manageable condition. This practice builds what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to experience difficult feelings without being overwhelmed by them. When an external trigger arises later, your tolerance is higher. The feeling is familiar territory, not a foreign invader. The practices can be beautifully simple and woven into daily life. It might be taking a cool shower for the final minute, not to punish yourself, but to practice greeting a sensation you did not choose with calm acceptance. It could be pausing from a particular food or from digital noise for a set period, exercising your will against a craving. It might be choosing the difficult task first thing in the morning, or taking on a physical chore you would normally avoid. The goal is never to cause distress, but to create a controlled environment where you can practice the very skills you need for triggers: the pause, the filter, the conscious choice. Consider a powerful practical example: choosing to initiate a difficult but necessary conversation you have been avoiding. This is voluntary hardship in the social arena. You know the topic is sensitive, you anticipate discomfort, your mind weaves stories of potential tension. By choosing to have this conversation, you are not seeking drama, you are seeking training. You are deliberately entering a space where your triggers may be activated, but you are doing so from a place of intention and preparation. You apply your Stoic tools beforehand, you consider the challenges ahead. You anchor yourself in what is up to you, your honesty, your calm tone, your listening. The conversation itself becomes the rocky trail. Whether it goes smoothly or has moments of tension, you are building the muscle of courageous, virtuous action in real time. You prove to yourself that you can navigate discomfort without being defined by it. So, here is a question for your own path of progress this week. What small, voluntary discomfort can you introduce as training? It does not need to be grand or extreme. It could be as simple as leaving your phone in another room for an hour of focused work, or choosing to walk in slightly cooler weather without complaint, or finally organizing that cluttered drawer you walk past every day. The specific act matters less than the conscious choice behind it. You are not just completing a task, you are sending a message to your entire being. I am strong enough to handle this, and by handling this small thing, I become stronger for what I cannot yet see. Our screens are built to capture our focus. Every notification is an invitation to look. Every headline tells a story of importance, and every feed presents a stream of perspectives. This digital environment constantly engages our inner selves, connecting with our natural instincts through modern messages. Let us bring the thoughtful filters we have discussed directly into this space. The central idea stays the same, but the setting is now your everyday device. The timeless insight translates clearly. It is not the online material that affects us, but our own perceptions of it. That strong opinion shared, that concerning news title, that polished image of a fulfilling experience, these are simply digital information. Your strength lies in the moment between noticing them and accepting the suggestion they offer. Your primary method of care is the understanding of what you can influence applied to your digital life. You do not manage the material others share or the systems that present it to you. You cannot manage a popular subject or another person's view. What you do manage is significant and powerful. You manage your own actions, the decision to scroll. You manage the choice to open an application. You manage how long you spend, and most importantly, you manage the personal meaning you create from what you encounter. This is thoughtful digital care, the conscious practice of maintaining your mental environment by guiding what you take in. It starts with understanding that your focus is your most precious resource, and every platform is crafted to use it on your behalf. The aim is to become the person who decides how to use it with purpose. Introduce a simple moment of pause and reflection before responding to any online material that brings a strong feeling. The process is straightforward. Notice the prompt, a quick reaction to a remark, a sense of contrast from a comparison, a feeling of importance from a headline. Take a conscious breath, then consider these filtering questions. Is my initial perception of this true, or am I receiving a narrative meant to engage? Is this line of thinking supportive of my calm or my aims for today? Is this something within my influence? The answer to that final question is always consistent. The material itself is not, but your continued engagement and your internal interpretation are. This practice transforms a quick reaction into a moment of deliberate choice. Think of the common situation of seeing a news headline crafted to create a strong reaction. The previous habit might be to feel the immediate emotion, select the link, read the article designed to heighten that feeling, experience the emotion grow, and then perhaps share it, continuing the cycle for yourself and others. The new approach with your pause and reflection changes the entire experience. You see the headline, you notice the initial pull, you breathe, you ask, is my immediate belief that this represents the complete story accurate? Most likely not. Is feeding this feeling of strong reaction helpful for my intentions this hour? Probably not. Is the existence of this headline within my influence? No, but my following action is, you can choose not to select the link. You can choose to close the window. You can choose, if you wish to be aware, to look for a more balanced source later when your mind is calm. You have just practiced digital care, clearing a reactive prompt from your mental environment. This applies as well to the deeper, quieter prompt of personal comparison. You see a shared celebration, an achievement, an image of a smooth accomplishment. The impression can suggest a story of something missing. Your pause and reflection practice steps in. Is the belief that my own path is less meaningful accurate based on one selected image? Is the thought that I am not where I should be helpful or encouraging, or does it simply lessen my current contentment? You then use your influence. You can set the device aside. You can purposefully shift your attention to 3 actual things in your immediate surroundings that you value. You take back your focus from the digital impression and bring it to your actual experience. So, here is a practical point for your own journey. What is one digital habit you can adjust to lessen unnecessary emotional prompts? It does not need to be a complete break from technology. It could be silencing non-vital alerts, setting a 10-minute limit for social platform use, or deciding to not check news or social streams within the first hour of your morning. Select one small entry point you can mindfully manage. Each time you successfully manage it, you reinforce your own authority over your attention and your emotional calm. You are not leaving the digital world behind. You are engaging with it thoughtfully, with awareness and your inner self steadied. The Stoic journey, though inward, was never meant to be a solitary one. We often picture the philosopher in quiet contemplation, separate from the world, but this is a misunderstanding. The Stoics saw immense value in community and guided learning. They believed that while the final responsibility for our judgments rests with us alone, we sharpen those judgments through dialogue, through shared inquiry, and through the accountability that comes from walking the path alongside others. Your internal work becomes clearer, stronger, and more sustainable when you allow it to be witnessed and supported by a thoughtful community, even a small one of just 2 or 3. The letters of Seneca to his friend Lucilius stand as the perfect historical model of this. Those writings were not academic lectures sent into the void. They were personal, practical guidance offered in the context of a real friendship. Seneca was acting as a mentor, and Lucilius was a committed student making progress. Through their correspondence, they examined daily life and its challenges, turning personal experiences into shared lessons. This relationship provided Lucilius with both a sounding board for his own thoughts and a gentle, external check on his reasoning. He was not alone with his difficulties. He had a wise friend to help him see them from a new angle. You can cultivate this in your own life in very accessible ways. It does not require finding a formal teacher. It begins with the simple intention to share the journey. This could mean joining a local or online reading group dedicated to Stoic philosophy, where you can discuss passages and their application to modern life with others who are similarly interested. It could be even simpler, having a single trusted conversation with a friend where you explain the core idea you are practicing, perhaps the filter of control or the practice of the pause. Just by articulating these concepts to someone else, you solidify them for yourself. You create a gentle form of accountability because now someone else knows you are working on this, and their very presence, even unspoken, can remind you of your commitment when a challenge arises. The community provides a mirror, reflecting back your progress and your blind spots with more clarity than you might achieve on your own. Beyond a living community, you can also invite a timeless mentor into your practice. The Stoics spoke often of the ideal sage, the perfectly wise person, but they also encouraged us to learn from the examples of admirable individuals, real or historical. You can mentally adopt a Stoic figure or any person whose character you respect as a kind of inner guide. When faced with a difficult situation, you can pause and ask a powerful question. How would Marcus Aurelius have assessed this? How would Seneca have chosen his words here? What would my most grounded friend advise me to see in this moment? This is not about imitation, but about inspiration. It pulls you out of the narrow, reactive self and into a broader perspective shaped by wisdom you admire. It is a way of borrowing strength from the best parts of humanity to fortify your own. So bring this to your own path with a reflective question. Who in your life, real or historical, can serve as a model for how you would like to respond to life's pressures? It might be a grandparent known for their steady patience, a public figure who demonstrates grace under pressure, or the historical example of a philosopher who faced immense difficulty with principle. Keep that model in mind. The next time you feel a familiar reaction building, take your breath and then ask yourself, what would my model do in this space between the event and my response? This simple act connects your personal practice to a lineage of human resilience, reminding you that you are part of a long conversation about how to live well, and you have every right to contribute your own chapter with clarity and courage. Progress in Stoicism is subtle, often felt before it is seen. You will not wake up one day a different person, free from every old pattern. Instead, you will notice quiet shifts in the landscape of your own mind, small signs that your practice is taking root and your responses are being refined. The goal is not to never feel the initial spark, but to change everything that happens after it. How do you know you are improving? Look for these gentle indicators. First, your recovery time shortens. Where a frustrating comment might have occupied your thoughts for hours, now you notice the feeling, apply your pause, and find your balance returning in minutes. The storm passes more quickly because you are no longer feeding it with internal stories. Second, you catch the trigger earlier in the chain. Instead of realizing you are upset after you have already spoken, you feel the first physical signal, that tightness in your chest or that quickened breath, and you recognize it as your cue to step back. This is a profound shift, moving from being in the reaction to observing its very beginning. Third, your emotional quality changes. A situation that once brought a wave of unease might now spark a flicker of curiosity. You find yourself wondering, what is the story I am telling myself here? Or, what can this teach me about my own sensitivities? This shift from unease to curiosity is a landmark, signifying that you are approaching the moment as a student. Finally, and most visibly, you choose different actions. The external behavior changes because the internal process has already been refined. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus pointed to a beautiful and challenging measure of this progress. He said, if someone tells you that so and so speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, he does not know my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these. The sign of progress is the ability to hear a challenging opinion and respond not with sharpness, but with a disarming humility and even a touch of humor. It is the internal freedom to not need to defend your image at all costs. Consider a practical, modern example. You receive an email late in the day, a message with a tone that feels unnecessarily sharp, questioning a decision you made. The old pattern is clear, a surge of heat, a narrative of frustration, fingers flying to the keyboard to craft a defensive reply to send immediately. The new sign of progress looks entirely different. You feel the familiar surge, you notice the tightness in your shoulders, but instead of agreeing with the story that this is an attack, you pause. You close your email client, you stand up from your desk and decide to go for a 10-minute walk. During that walk, you apply the filter, what is up to me, my response, my clarity, my professionalism. What is not up to me, their tone, their mood, their initial impression. By the time you return, the emotional charge has settled. You can now open the email again, read it for the factual content it might contain, and decide if a response is even necessary, or if a calm, concise clarification tomorrow will serve better. The event was the same, but your journey through it was transformed. That walk is a tangible sign of your practice taking hold. So, take a moment for your own reflection. What is one small sign of progress you have noticed in yourself recently? It might be as simple as taking a deep breath before answering a repeated question, or noticing a judgmental thought about a stranger and letting it pass without giving it weight. Perhaps it is the ability to listen to a differing opinion without immediately formulating your counter-argument in your head. These are not minor victories. They are the quiet, cumulative evidence that you are building your inner resilience, piece by thoughtful piece. A refined trigger is not a buried emotion. This is a critical nuance on the path, a subtle fork in the road where a philosophy of resilience can be mistaken for a permission slip for emotional avoidance. Stoicism requires honest engagement with the full spectrum of our human experience, not a retreat from it. The danger lies in a pattern sometimes called spiritual bypassing, using lofty ideas to sidestep the messy, necessary work of feeling and understanding what is truly happening within. We might tell ourselves we are being stoic when we are actually just suppressing, dismissing a legitimate feeling because it is uncomfortable or does not fit our ideal of perfect composure. This is not strength, it is a different kind of constraint where we are ruled by a fear of our own humanity. The Stoic aim was always to live in accordance with nature, and our nature as human beings includes a profound capacity for feeling. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life must be ready to stand firm against the sudden and the unforeseen. That standing firm is not a rigid, emotionless statue. It is a rooted, breathing person who acknowledges the impact before choosing how to move. the distinction is found in the purpose of your practice. Are you mastering your reactions to external events, or are you attempting to ignore the internal signals those events create? Stoicism trains you to manage the story you tell about a feeling, not to deny the feeling's initial presence. A feeling of sadness about a personal or professional transition is a natural human response. It is part of the fabric of a life that cares deeply. The work of the trigger begins with the stories that may follow that feeling. The story that this change defines your future, the story that you are now diminished, the story that you must hide this experience to appear strong. Those narratives are what you examine and refine. You allow yourself to feel the sadness, you accept it as part of your current landscape, and then you apply your tools. You ask, what part of this is up to me? My feeling is not up to me, it has arrived. My judgment about what this experience means for my entire life, and my actions moving forward, these are entirely within my sphere. You might choose to talk with a trusted friend, to write in a journal, to take a walk in nature. These are not reactions against the feeling, they are conscious responses from within it. Conversely, spiritual bypassing would look like immediately shutting down the sadness. You might scold yourself. A true Stoic would not feel this, or distract yourself with frantic activity to avoid the quiet where the feeling lives. This is like seeing a warning light on your car's dashboard and deciding to cover it with tape instead of checking the engine. The light is the legitimate signal. Your refined response is to understand what it indicates and take appropriate, mindful action. Ignoring it does not make the underlying condition go away, it often allows it to worsen. Your emotions are part of your inner dashboard. They provide data. Stoicism teaches you how to read that data wisely without letting the alarm panic you into a crash. So here is a question for your honest reflection this week. Are you using the idea of Stoicism as an excuse to avoid dealing with any legitimate emotion in your life? Look at a recent point of tension. Did you pause to understand the feeling, or did you simply try to push it aside in the name of being unaffected? The goal is not to be unaffected, but to be wise in how you are affected. This honest check ensures your practice remains a path to genuine freedom, not just another, more sophisticated form of hiding. Every trigger pulls you into the past or launches you toward the future. A harsh word echoes an old story. A worry projects a difficult scene yet to unfold. In that movement away from the present, your power scatters. Your refuge, your only true ground for observing and refining these reactions, is the solid reality of the now. This is not a mystical escape, but the most practical Stoic application of all. The philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius anchored himself here constantly. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. You could resign your life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." His focus was not on a dramatic conclusion, but on a profound beginning, the understanding that the present task is the only territory you ever actually occupy. The past is a memory, a story you carry. The future is an anticipation, a story you write in advance. Both are mental impressions, not reality. The now is the only place where your faculty of choice, your proherses, can actually operate. When a trigger strikes, it is always trying to pull your attention away, to draw you into a remembered difficulty or a feared possibility. Your power lies in gently refusing that pull. You do this by anchoring your awareness firmly in the sensory reality of this moment. This is mindfulness in direct service to Stoic resilience. It is the practice of noticing what is actually before you, right now, within your influence. Your breath is here, the feeling of your feet on the floor is here, the sight of the light through the window is here. These are your anchors. Consider the common experience of concern about an upcoming event, a presentation, a challenging conversation, a scheduled appointment. The mind spins stories of potential outcomes, imagining narratives of stumbling or facing unexpected challenges. This is a future trigger, powerful because it feels real, yet it exists only in thought. The Stoic response, reinforced by present moment awareness, is to gently but firmly return to the now. You might pause and consciously notice 5 physical things in your immediate environment. See the grain of the wood on your desk, feel the texture of your sleeve against your skin, hear the distant hum of the air system, smell the faint scent of your tea. Taste the lingering flavor in your mouth. This simple exercise does not make the future event disappear, but it recalibrates your entire system. It pulls you out of the abstract story and into the concrete world. From this grounded place, you can then apply your Stoic filter with clarity. You can ask, what about this future event is within my control right now? Perhaps it is preparing a note, or choosing a calming thought, or simply deciding to get a good night's rest. Everything else, the actual unfolding of the event, belongs to a future moment that you cannot occupy until you arrive there. By anchoring in the present, you reclaim your energy from the imagined worries of tomorrow and invest it into the actionable reality of today. So, wherever you are, whatever quiet or busyness surrounds you, here is a question to bring you home. What is one thing you can fully attend to in this present moment to ground yourself? It might be the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat, the intricate pattern of leaves on a tree outside, or the simple weight and warmth of the device in your hand. Attend to it completely, just for a few seconds. In that full attention, the stories of past and future lose their grip, and you find yourself standing once again on the only ground that is ever truly yours, the unshakable now. The goal is not to eliminate triggers, but to change your relationship with them forever. This understanding shifts everything. You are not solving a puzzle to reach a state of perfect, static calm. You are cultivating a dynamic, lifelong skill, one that will be called upon in every new chapter of your life. The strategy you are learning is not a temporary fix, but a permanent lens, a way of seeing and engaging with reality that you will carry forward. New challenges will always arise because life itself is a process of continual change. Your career will shift, your relationships will evolve, your body and circumstances will present new frontiers. Each of these changes brings with it a fresh set of potential triggers, new stories for your mind to tell. The practice is not about preventing those stories from appearing, but about maintaining the clarity and the tools to meet them when they do. This is the work of a lifetime, and in that very fact lies its profound value. You are not failing when a new difficulty appears. You are being presented with the next lesson in your ongoing education. One ancient teacher framed this beautifully with the metaphor of the lifelong athlete. He said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig." If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. The fig tree does not bear fruit once and consider its work done. It goes through cycles, season after season, responding to different conditions of sun, rain, and wind. Your character is the same. You are not in a sprint toward a finish line labeled unshakable. You are in a marathon of becoming, where the training itself is the point. The thoughtful person is the athlete in the gym of daily life, where every interaction, every delay, every unexpected event is another piece of equipment, another chance to strengthen a different muscle of understanding. Consider the graceful example of an elder navigating the natural process of aging. This phase of life introduces a profound suite of new experiences, from the slowing of physical pace to the shifting of social roles, to observing the journeys of those around them. The external events are deeply personal. The internal stories could easily be ones of frustration or change. Yet, an elder who has lived with a thoughtful heart approaches these same events differently. They apply the filter they have honed for decades. They separate what is within their control, their attitude, their gratitude, their kindness to those around them, from what is not, the passing of time itself, the natural evolution of their physical being. They practice the pause before focusing on a limitation, and often choose to find humor or quiet appreciation instead. They rewrite the narrative from one of change to one of depth and perspective. Their practice has not ended, it has simply evolved to meet the terrain of their 8th or 9th decade. They demonstrate that the strategy is not about avoiding difficulty, but about meeting each new form of it with a refined and resilient spirit. This reframes the entire journey. How can you view this ongoing practice as a source of strength rather than a chore? The answer lies in shifting your measure of success. Success is not the absence of triggers, but the quality of your response to the 10th trigger of the day or the 1000th trigger of the year. It is the quiet satisfaction of noticing the old story arise and consciously choosing a new one. It is the accumulating evidence seen in your own actions that you are less frequently swept away by passing storms. This practice becomes your inner compass, a reliable source of direction no matter how unfamiliar the external landscape becomes. It is the work that never ends and therefore the strength that never leaves you. Let's weave these threads into a simple daily fabric you can wear. A framework is not about adding more tasks to your day, but about giving a gentle structure to the awareness you are already cultivating. This daily rhythm turns philosophy from a concept you think about into a practice you live within. It consists of 3 touch points: a morning intention, a midday noticing, and an evening reflection. Together, they form a continuous loop of awareness, action, and learning. Begin your day with a morning intention. This is not a lengthy meditation, but a 10-second decision as you open your eyes. Before you reach for your phone or step out of bed, simply choose one Stoic principle to carry with you. It could be a short maxim from Epictetus's handbook, such as, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Or it could be a single word like pause or judgment. This intention acts as a quiet guide for your mind, a preset filter through which you will view the day's events. It says, "Today, I will remember that my power lies in my responses." Throughout the day, practice a midday noticing. This is the integration of your physical awareness and your narrative understanding in real time. Set a gentle alarm for midday, or use a natural transition like your lunch break or your first sip of afternoon water. For just 60 seconds, turn your attention inward. Ask yourself 2 simple questions. First, what is my body telling me right now? Scan for any held tension, a tight jaw, a knotted stomach, shallow breath. Second, what is the dominant story running in my background? Is it a story of urgency, of comparison, of waiting for the next thing? This 60-second check-in is not about fixing anything. It is about taking a conscious reading of your internal state. It creates a deliberate pocket of presence, pulling you out of automatic pilot and back into the observer's seat. Then, in the evening, dedicate 5 minutes to a review. This is your map making. Use a simple journal template with 4 lines. First, trigger. What external occurrence sparked a reaction today? State it factually. Second, my judgment. What was the initial story I told myself about it? Third, what was up to me? Apply the filter of control. Fourth, how did I respond? Was it a reaction or a chosen action? This is not an exercise in self-criticism, but in pattern recognition. Over a week, these entries will reveal the specific narratives you most readily believe and the virtues you have the most opportunity to practice. It closes the loop, turning the day's experiences into direct feedback for your growth. So, what one part of this daily framework can you start with tomorrow? It does not need to be all 3. Perhaps it is just the morning intention, whispering your chosen maxim as you brush your teeth. Maybe it is the 60-second body scan when you sit back down at your desk after lunch. Or it could be the 5-minute review before you turn out the light. Choose the one that feels most accessible and wear it for a day. This is how a strategy becomes a life, not through a single grand gesture, but through the quiet, consistent return to your own inner work. That fortress of a tranquil mind Seneca described is not a prison for your feelings. but a sanctuary for your true self. Within its walls, you are no longer a weather vane spinning with every passing emotional gust. You become the steady observer of the storm, and in that observation lies a profound and quiet liberation. The freedom on the other side of this work is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of an unshakable inner space from which to meet it. Imagine the sheer lightness of moving through your day without being jerked around by every external comment, every minor delay, every fluctuation in someone else's mood. Your emotional energy, once scattered in 100 defensive reactions, now consolidates into a focused beam of attention. You have bandwidth you did not realize you possessed because you are no longer spending it on internal arguments with reality. This stability creates a ripple effect through every part of your life. Your focus deepens because you are not constantly pulled away by mental chatter about what just happened or what might happen next. Your relationships transform because you can listen to understand, not just to prepare your rebuttal. You stop attributing your moods to others and start owning your power of interpretation. Personal agency is no longer a concept, it is your lived experience. You move from being a character in a drama written by circumstance to being the author of your own response. Consider two versions of a single week. In the first, a life ruled by reactive emotions. A critical email at 9 in the morning derails your morning, souring your interactions and clouding your judgment. A friend's last-minute cancellation feels like a personal rejection, sending you into a spiral of questioning the relationship. A rainy weekend cancels plans, leaving you in a state of restless frustration, feeling cheated out of your time. The entire week is a series of emotional emergencies, each one leaving you feeling drained and powerless. Now, see the same week through the lens of refined awareness. That critical email arrives, you feel the initial sting, but you pause. You apply your filter, separating the feedback from the story of attack. You choose to see it as information, perhaps poorly delivered, but information nonetheless. You craft a concise, professional reply and move on with your morning intact. Your friend cancels. You notice the flicker of disappointment, but you withhold assent from the narrative that this means something about your worth. You wish them well, and you use the suddenly free evening to dive into a book you love or to connect with someone else. The rain falls on Saturday. Instead of fighting it, you accept it as the day's given condition. You light a candle, make a pot of tea, and enjoy the rare permission to slow down. The external events were nearly identical, but your internal world, and therefore your lived experience, was entirely different. One week felt like being carried by a chaotic river. The other felt like navigating that river with a steady rudder and a clear map. Seneca wrote that a mind thus disciplined is a fortress, a place of retreat that no storm can ever shake. This is the freedom you are building. It is the freedom to feel without being flooded, to care without being consumed, to engage without being ensnared. So let this question sit with you as we continue. What does true emotional freedom look and feel like to you personally? Not as an abstract ideal, but as a tangible quality in your daily life. Is it the ability to hear difficult news without your whole day collapsing? Is it the space to offer a kind response when you receive a harsh one? Is it the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your peace is not for sale to the highest bidder of frustration? Your answer is the compass pointing toward your own inner sanctuary. Your journey began by recognizing that quiet internal story, the true trigger behind every reaction. You learn to create the vital pause, a breath of space where your freedom resides. Within that space, you applied the timeless filter of control, separating what is up to you from what is not, focusing your energy where it truly makes a difference. You practiced the art of reframing, consciously choosing the narratives that serve your peace and purpose over the ones that diminish it. This is not a philosophy of cold suppression, but of warm, deliberate empowerment. It is about reclaiming the authorship of your inner world. Marcus Aurelius left us a final, luminous reminder of this power. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Every impression you entertain, every story you assent to, tints the very fabric of your being. You hold the brush, you choose the colors. This week, do not try to change everything at once. That is a story of pressure, not progress. Instead, select just one strategy from this exploration. Perhaps it is the single, conscious breath before you speak. Maybe it is asking the simple question, what part of this is truly up to me when a familiar frustration arises? It could be the evening review, taking 5 minutes to map one trigger from your day. Practice that single point with gentle consistency. Notice the subtle shift it creates. Your path is unique and your insights are valuable. Share your experience in the comments below. What was your one practice and what did you discover? Let us build a community of thoughtful progress, supporting each other in this practical work. If you found this guidance helpful, subscribe for more. Together, we continue the ancient, essential conversation on how to live with clarity, courage, and a quiet mind.